Wow, how do I follow? How do I follow that? And thank you so much for sharing your work from your workshops. I want to go home and try out all these activities and come back with new work. So firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge the land that we are on and honor it and thank it. Thank you for the snaps, yes. And I also want to express my gratitude to the organizers who have been so wonderful in communicating with me, and I'm so glad to have finally met them all. So thank you very much for all the hard work and effort and energy and good intentions you've put into this festival. I can just feel the sense of community in this room, and it's so wonderful to step into this space knowing that there's so much community here. So thank you for welcoming me to your community. So I always get this question, Sheniz, where are you from? Markham. No. I mean, really, where are you from? Well, I was born in Toronto. No. I mean, like, you know, your parents, where were they from? Okay, you know what? I'm tired of answering this question like this, so I decided to answer it like this. What do you see when you look at me? She's probably from India or the Middle East, released from the hands of some political beast. Well, 0 points for you, because you base my ancestry on my race. Couldn't look further than my face and see that I could quite possibly be from Kenya. Yeah, that's right, that place in East Africa with the sparkling coast. Now, I don't mean to boast, but my parents were born there, and their memories are buried there, where the visions of a child are released upon the sea, where the voices of dreams echo freely. And you may say to me, how can this be, that an Indian is Kenyan and a Kenyan is Indian? It doesn't make sense, based on the laws of geography, realistically, logistically. Well, my great-great-grandfather came from India to Africa by the ocean. He traveled to put forth his plans for the future into motion. On the shores of a dream, he fought to keep the people's spirit alive. He taught my spirit how to continue to strive to dive into the unknown. And I have grown in the shadow of his memory, wearing his ring that bears his initials, Juma Haji, known as Simba, Lionheart, for braving man-eating lions. His visions are my Zion. And from his son, I learned the ideals of charity, to speak up for those living in the midst of calamities, to battle the odds and fight the storm, to know when to rebel, when not to conform, to be a visionary for my faith by transcending youth, to keep his memory alive by practicing truth. So when you look at me, don't separate me from my ancestry. For when you eat the fruit, you must thank the roots of the tree. My heart lies in Africa. My spirit thrives in Canada. My soul dreams of India, the holy trinity of my identity. So take a second look, read a cover by its book, and before you cut me down to size, realize your own histories before you claim me to be of one nationality. Thank you so much. Can you guys see me over there? I'm kind of short, so I'm gonna, yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna have to figure out this configuration, but I feel like I need to see you. So I decided that the first section of my work would honor my roots, and this is a poem that just does that. And my first collection of poetry, Bleeding Light, is a collection of poetry that's written in the ghazal form. Hands, anyone know what the ghazal? Yeah, yay. Okay, so for those who are unfamiliar with the form, the ghazal form dates back to 7th century Persia, and it consists of couplets that often are of equal length or equal syllable. They also have refrains that either repeat or rhyme. And I was introduced to this form by Dion Brand, and she said, Sheniz, you know what, I think you should write ghazals in English, because your poetry's like this and it needs to be like this. So I said, what do you mean ghazals in English? I've never heard of ghazals in English, because I've always known the form as a sung form. It's a form that my dad used to listen to when I was growing up, and I'd just say, you know what, Dad, can you just stop listening to that stuff? Because I didn't understand the language. I didn't have access to the language. So suddenly, I had access to the form. And I thought, I can reclaim my sense of identity, if not through the language, through the form. So this is my second poem from Leading Light. Eldama ravine in these veins, our house occupied by lions. My great-great-grandfather had no ordinary pets. He encaged lions. Our family is riddled with them, those beasts with matted manes, those beasts. Hazrat Ali sharpened his sword in desert battles. In our books, he was the lion. If you stand alone in Savo, in the blotted blue night, you will hear them yelp. You will see the smoke lace of my great-grandfather, his body, the breath of a lion. His father, hurricane lamp teetering in hand, sent through the woods to the train station, knocked at the station master's door, 2 dead, his flesh saved from man-eating lions. I had a dream once of a lion slouching towards me, rain slanting the gray sky. The seer explained, a male lion is a symbol of female strength. A male lion. These fingers stroke the face in the mirror for a scent of damp fur, a tuft even. Claw for a clot of blood, Sheniz. Claw for a clot of blood, Sheniz. In Eldama ravine, in the shoulder of a lion. Sorry, I'm blocking some of you. This is from my new collection, Fire Smoke. Kilimanjaro. Sit like a mountain. Let the snow swirl around you. Let the world nest itself in the rock of your being. Wedged beneath earth and sky, you watch over the city, breathing over the madness, traffic, lights. Clouds veil the curves of your face. Fog lingers at the crown of your head. Someday you will crumble into an avalanche or sputter sparks from your mouth. In your hand, you hold the weight of a mountain. A rock once belonged to a mountain that was once under the sea, now at the height of the stars. Close your palm. Close your palm and sit like Kilimanjaro. Let the snow swirl around you. Let the world nest in the rock of your being. Root yourself in this earth, and it will root itself in you. So I visited Kenya this summer. I went to see my grandmother, who lives in the highlands up in Eldoret. It's a little town near the Rift Valley. And we decided to go to this magical, there's no other way to describe it, place called Sleeping Warrior. And it's called Sleeping Warrior because there's a mountain that is in the shape of a sleeping warrior. And it's just full of so much, I don't know, there's so much energy there. You know when you go to a place in nature and you feel like it's intact, you know, and that's how it felt being there. And I dragged my sister on this botanical tour because I wanted to learn about, there's so many different varieties of acacia trees, and I thought, you know what, let's find out what all these trees are, you know, are used for here. And we came across this incredible acacia tree that had thorns the size of fists. And I said, oh, what are these called? And he said, whistling thorns. And I thought, whistling thorns, why? So he said, there's a certain kind of ant that bores holes into this thorn. And when the wind blows through it, you can hear the music of the, you know, it's just incredible. So I was like, poem, this is a poem. I feel like my description of that is longer than the poem. So sometimes I'm like, is this, yeah, maybe I should explain this after the poem, because everyone expects like a long poem, and then it's like really not that long. Anyway, Whistling Thorn. Plunging my hands into the ground, soil digging under my fingernails, until I you can stretch this one out. Where we can have a conversation, right? Yes. All right. Are we good? Yes? Let's start again. I won't start with the whole story. I hope you remember that. Plunging my hands into the ground, soil digging under my fingernails, until I uncover my beating heart, its arteries the roots of an acacia. These tears of rediscovery are like stinging ants boring holes into my heart. A whistling thorn, hollow at its core, so that the wind can find music in its emptiness. So, I was in India, I can't believe it's almost 2 years ago now, for the Jaipur Literature Festival. And let me tell you, if you have a chance to go, go. It's quite an experience. India itself is already an experience, and then going to a festival where on any given day you have 100,000 people listening to you, it's pretty incredible and kind of scary and wonderful all at the same time. And I had just gone right after the Delhi gang rape with my mom. So it was very, very close, very raw. And I decided to read this poem for the first time. And just before I got on stage, the director of the festival came to us and he said, because there was, I don't know if you heard of this controversy, but a couple of years before, some authors had read from Salman Rushdie's banned book. Not such a good idea in India. And most of them were not allowed back. One, however, was, and he had 24-hour protection by the police, and he had to call his police officer and tell him where he was every minute of the day. And so we were on the same panel together. And just before we went up on stage, the director of the festival came up to us and said, "Listen, I know there have been threats. So when you go on stage, if for any reason you feel uncomfortable, leave the stage. If people start to, heckle or whatever, I'll come on stage and I'll say, we've registered your complaint, now can we continue with the readings? The worst they can do is throw shoes at you." So I'm thinking I can handle one shoe, a crowd of 100,000, I don't know about that. And then we all had decided to actually introduce each other alphabetically. So of course I get the banned author to introduce. And I go up on stage and I'm kind of like, so, and people applauded because of his bravery, because he decided to show up. And it gave me the courage to read this poem. So Kali is known as the Dark Mother. She's a Hindu goddess, and she's known for her fierce compassion and cuts like a sword through your delusions. So, break the bones in the body who breaks the bones of women. Your black milk flows into the mouths of men who dare to trample women. Queen of the night, you have birthed dusk from dawn, coal from diamond. You carry the weight of life, breathing fire into the breasts of women. Your trident is our spine. Your hue is the bottomless ocean in our wombs. Every strand of your hair is a quill, pricking the wells in the hearts of women. O three-eyed warrior, fierce and loving, you see everything beyond sight. Your necklace clanks with skulls. You are the dark mother in all women. We embrace your ebony shadow. Our skin gleams black like hematite. Bleeding with rage and renewal, we rewrite stories men have written for women. Change your clothes, keep your eyes down, stop tempting men with your looks. We reject poison from their foaming mouths, tar that once stuck to the ribs of women. Kalima, your tongue hangs from our tongues. We refuse to keep our mouths shut. I will scream until my throat burns. We were not simply born to woo men. Thank you. So that was a style of the ghazal, if you could hear the woman being repeated each time as a refrain. And the last one, the thing with the ghazal is that unfortunately, English, you have to be a little bit more creative with reusing the words, because in other languages like Urdu, the way that you pronounce a word changes its meaning. So you can really play with a ghazal form, and it's a lot about how you recite the poem, and that gives you the meaning that you want, the desired meaning. So I had to play a little bit with the context around the words as opposed to the words themselves. So that's why I cut the last line in half. Woo, men. So this one's from Fire Smoke. Of waves and women, the moon is the ultimate shapeshifter, a phantom glow, an ancient luminescence, governing the cycles of waves and women. She blows into the conch shell, her breath rippling through the body of the ocean. The sea pours rivulets of salt water into her veins, claiming her blood as its own. Where does she end? Where does she end? Where the waves begin. So Mary and I were having a conversation about gray hair at dinner, and owning your gray hair. And I have a poem called The Crone. Often the crone is seen as kind of like a haggard old lady, but really when you look at the history of what a crone was, it was, you know, a wise woman. And I wanted to write this poem to myself as the crone. So this is from Fire Smoke. A raven ruffles its feathers, but cannot shake off the night. A raven ruffles its feathers, but cannot shake off the night. The language of the birds, sacred and unknown, speaks to me. This past is a skeleton unburied in the dust of a forgotten desert. I sift through the sand, and every blanched bone speaks to me. She cuts into the tree of my being, revealing the rings of my life, unbroken circles that never touch, like stones that speak to me. Eyes glaze with the sheen of the sea, wrinkles are tributaries of tears. Come to the edge, come to the edge. I am the crone who speaks to me. So that was a section about the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, claiming back that energy. So first was roots, and then it was the femininity. And the last section, I guess you could say, is nature. I've been doing a lot of land art. If you go to the little bookstore over there that's so beautifully set up, I have some bookmarks. Feel free to take them, whether you purchase a book or not. They're free. And they have a piece of art that I did actually in my grandmother's hometown. And I find there's something about going outside, seeing what you have on the ground and using that to create something, and then letting it go. You have absolutely no control over what happens to it once you walk away. And the thing with writing is, once it's written, it can't be unwritten. Once it's published, it's there. If you see a typo in your book, sorry, you can't do anything about it. But I find the balance between that permanency and the impermanence of creating something that is no longer yours. That's the balance that at least I'm looking for. So this is called A Bluebird's Wing. Geese fly back before the snow falls. January is the new spring. If April is the cruelest month, how can winter rival an eternal spring? With words etched into his skin, he extracts letters from his fingers. She fans herself with his love letter, folded like a bluebird's wing. The crow is the keeper of the sacred law, but you deem it evil. If one crow is the ink of death, what will a murder of crows bring? Steamrollers flatten the soil. Fish bones are coated with bitumen. What melody will our rivers remember if songbirds forget how to sing? So I have this love-hate relationship with beaches. I like to go to the area where no one else is, where there isn't this loud boom box playing music into the ocean. I mean, you have the waves. What else do you need? So this was in response to that. Flotsam. Beer bottles, plastic bags, underwear, gum wrappers, receipts, caps, toothbrushes, lighters, cups end up in the sea's vast net of light. Waves heaving the weight of our waste back and forth, back and forth. The ocean tumbling shards of beer bottles into oblong pebbles of sea glass, weaving bloated plastic bags into nooses for seagulls, breaking bottle caps into bait for lanternfish. Our sparkling garbage dump brims with cockles and crap. Our hands throw trash overboard, and the giver of life receives. I've been reading a lot about the folklore around trees. I actually have a library book in my bag that I probably will not read on this weekend, but it's still there. And it's all about the folklore of trees, and this is one of those poems based on that. A walking stick. Bent like my back, its spine curls around my palm. Its knot fits my hand, this walking stick. St. Patrick ambled through Ireland, past the emerald groves and over verdant hills, rocks and across rivers, spreading the gospel until he rooted his walking stick in the ground, and it bloomed into an ash tree. Now, I'm no saint, but think of all the force there would be if we stood still for a while and let our walking sticks root themselves in the earth. I've been dealing with a lot of death in my life lately, or coming face to face with people who are facing death, and I guess this poem is appropriate. Sandalwood. They say when you pass from this, oh, my peas, sorry. They say, he's like, above the mic, yes. They say when you pass from this world to the next, your senses disappear like smoke. The last one to leave is that of scent. I offer you a vase of blooming tea roses, a scarf full of fresh lilacs, a brass bowl brimming with rose water, a handful of sticky acacia resin, a wedge of burning palo santo, a heap of dried lavender, a single leaf of white sage, a sprig of night jasmine. You will know my love. You will know my love through spirals of sandalwood smoke. So I'm going to end with a very, very short poem. Fire Smoke is in 3 sections. The first section is the kindling, which are the more formal poems, which are the ghazals. And as the kindling breaks down, the form breaks down. So the middle section are free verse poems, the fire, unpredictable. And then the final section is smoke, which are the shortest poems. So it traces the life and death of a fire. And this is the last poem, or yeah, I guess we could call it a poem, in Fire Smoke. Petals don't ask where to land. Petals don't ask where to land. They just fall with grace. Thank you so much.